Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President visited a toy factory, hosted Kennedy Center Honorees, held the 2012 White House Tribal Nations Conference, welcomed the Prime Minister of Bulgaria, answered questions live on Twitter, visited a family who urged leaders in Washington, D.C. to join the President and prevent a middle-class tax hike, and lit the national Christmas tree. That's November 30th to December 6th, or I have to pinch myself.
It's odd because I make my living making movies, and this is surreal enough I have to pinch myself to make sure I'm not just making another movie.
On Friday, the President visited Hatfield, Pennsylvania to tour the Rodon Group manufacturing facility, a third-generation family business that depends on middle-class consumers during the holiday season. They produce toys like Tinker Toy, K'NEX, and Angry Bird building sets. There, the President stressed the need for Congress to act now and extend the middle-class tax cuts to help businesses like Rodon, who depend on families having some shopping money this holiday season.
This is too important to our economy, it's too important for our families to not get it done. And it's not acceptable to me, and I don't think it's acceptable to you, for just a handful of Republicans in Congress to hold middle-class tax cuts hostage simply because they don't want tax rates on upper-income folks to go up.
Back at the White House, Senior Advisor Valerie Jarrett and Senior Director of the National Security Council Gail Smith held White House office hours on Twitter, answering questions on the administration's efforts in the global fight against HIV and AIDS. On Saturday, a commemorative red ribbon was displayed on the north portico of the White House to commemorate World AIDS Day. On Sunday, the President and First Lady hosted legendary entertainers at the White House for the Kennedy Center Honors reception. The President recognized their extraordinary talents and emphasized the importance of the arts in our nation's culture.
And it speaks to something that has always made this country great. The idea that here in America, more than any other place on earth, we are free to follow our own passions, explore our own gifts, wherever they may lead us, and people from all around the world come here to make sure that they too can provide us the incredible gifts that they have.
After the President spoke, West Wing Week caught up with Led Zeppelin lead guitarist and honoree, Jimmy Page.
It's interesting the way that it's comes full circle, because it's through the American players and music that I learned myself. So back in England, you see. So I would never, in my wildest dreams, would I ever expected to have been here and to meet President Obama and Mrs. Obama was just a thrill beyond belief.
On Monday, the President took questions via Twitter about the need to extend the middle-class tax cuts. You can continue to speak out about what a $2,000 tax hike would mean to you and your family by using hashtag #My2K.
There we go. My tweet has been posted.
Later, in the Oval Office, the President met with the Prime Minister of Bulgaria. Then, the President went to the National Defense University in Washington, D.C. to speak to the Nunn-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Symposium.
Missile by missile, warhead by warhead, shell by shell, we're putting a bygone era behind us. Inspired by Sam Nunn and Dick Lugar, we're moving closer to the future that we seek. A future where these weapons never threaten our children again, a future where we know the security and peace of a world without nuclear weapons.
On Tuesday, the President sat down with Bloomberg Television in the Map Room to discuss extending tax cuts for the middle class, before dropping by a meeting of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators in the Roosevelt Room. On Wednesday morning, the President made a short trip down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Business Roundtable, where he addressed a room full of CEOs from major business institutions to discuss his plan for a balanced approach to deficit reduction.
I am passionately rooting for your success, because if the companies in this room are doing well, then small businesses and medium-sized businesses up and down the chain are doing well. If the companies in this room are doing well, then folks get jobs, consumers get confidence, and we're going to be able to compete around the world.
Later, the President addressed the 2012 White House Tribal Nations Conference at the Department of Interior.
Throughout Indian country, you've got a generation ready to build on what generations before them have built. They're out there stirring with hope and restless for change and ready to take ownership of their future. So let's make sure our work here is worthy of their efforts. Let's do everything we can to get things in the best shape possible for when they're in charge. And over the next 4 years, we're going to keep working together to make sure that the promise of America is fully realized for every Native American.
On Thursday, the president visited the Santana family in Falls Church, Virginia. Tiffany Santana wrote to the White House through the website whitehouse.gov/my2k to share how a $2,000 tax hike on the middle class would affect her family. The president sat down with the Santanas to highlight just one of the millions of middle-class families who would have to make significant sacrifices if Congress can't work together to extend middle-class tax cuts before the end of the year.
The reason that we're here is because Tiffany is one of the people who responded to My 2K. As many of you know, we asked folks all across the country to talk a little bit about what would it mean if their income taxes went up in 2013. You know, for them to be burdened unnecessarily because Democrats and Republicans aren't coming together to solve this problem gives you a sense of the costs involved in very personal terms. Obviously, it would also have an impact on our economy because if this family has a couple of $1,000s less to spend, that translates into $200 billion of less consumer spending next year, and that's bad for businesses large and small.
Later that evening, the president and first family attended the National Christmas Tree Lighting Ceremony, where, of course, they flipped the switch.
3, 2, 1.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
We have a special guest. Oh, that's nice. Come on.
I don't know if we should do it.
We gotta get another picture. We gotta get another picture with Michelle in there.